Hi, my name is Rich Panico. I am the Chief Commercial Officer of Symbio Pro Nevera, and welcome to another episode of Pharma Talk. In today's episode, we will interview Dr. Sunil Dhawan. Dr. Dhawan owns one of the finest clinical research derm sites in the country. In the episode, we will talk about how he got started in clinical research, the studies he likes to do, the studies he doesn't like to do, and the different ventures he's got going on. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone. This is Rich Panico. Welcome to another edition of Pharma Talk. And this week, I have one of the best dermatology investigators in the country with me, Sunil Dhawan. Dr. Dhawan, I've been looking forward to this all day long because we can probably talk about it. Yeah, we could talk about hours for hours and hours. So, yeah. So let's start. We'll start from the beginning. Where'd you go to school? Med school.
I went to the University of Southern California, and then mistakenly I didn't do a derm elective in medical school, and I said, derm, worthless. And I did internal medicine and said, man, this is like where real people work. And so I did internal medicine for 3 years. In the third year of my internal medicine residency, I had an offer to do a GI fellowship, and I was forced to take a derm elective. It was part of like the electives you had to take. So the third day of the derm elective, I said, I'm not going to do internal medicine. I need to do this. So I
Wow.
applied. I got in basically based on my internal medicine background, because at that point they were really excited about the fact that I did internal medicine. So then I did a residency in Miami and was shocked to see how much whining the derm residents were doing about next to nothing. I mean, it was just amazing how much whiny people there are. I can't, my God, I have to be there on a Saturday. My God, I have to stick around. My God, I have consults. I go, man, you guys are like, this is nothing. So it was easy. So it was an easy kind of a cakewalk for like 3 years. It was fun,
Okay.
a lot of fun.
So, so then how'd you get started? Were you part of a private practice or did you start out on your own? How'd it go?
No, no. So what I was going to do is I was going to come up here back to Northern California. I had a lot of opportunity in Florida. There was 3 or 4 offers. I just didn't want to take them. I wasn't happy with being in Florida, just because my family wasn't there. If my family was there, I would probably have stayed. But I wanted to come back to my parents, my brother, my sister, and my wife's relatives. A lot of them are in the Northern California area. So I one day got a call from Katie Rodan, the founder of Proactive. So she had been to medical school with me and said, Sunil, we're looking for somebody, and you're going to come to Fremont. And in my mind, I always thought about coming back to Fremont because Fremont's a nice community, tech oriented, lots of
Hmm.
patients, nice people living here. So my wife and I had always thought about Fremont to settle down here and raise kids. And she called me. I came and interviewed. I accepted the offer like that evening or the next day. I talked to my wife and just said, I'm taking it. So Katie was my mentor for probably 10 years before she went off and did her own thing. She quit and went proactive, got really busy. She taught me really a lot of marketing and sales skills. I mean, she was very good at what she did. She was one of the first ones to talk about, recurring revenue from what's called auto ship. She started the auto ship concept with Ruthie Renker, who owned Proactive. So she was unique. I actually had the rights to Proactive for all of South Asia, Saudi Arabia, a bunch of areas. It was like probably 20, 25 years ago that she said,
Yeah,
you can do
I remember
it.
it.
Huh?
I remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember
She's
Proactive.
very,
Yeah,
very smart.
huge.
She and her husband then ended up selling off their rights to the products back to Ruthie Ranker, I think. And then what they did was they ended up founding Rodan and Fields with Kathy Fields. Kathy was also a friend of mine. I knew her brother trained with me and her. So they were both, Katie and Kathy were Stanford residents. And Rodan and Fields was sold to Estee Lauder, and then they bought it back for next to nothing. And they built it up into a huge multi-level marketing thing for skincare.
Hmm.
And they're now sold that back off to a private equity fund, and they have now moved on to, I think, retired life. They're living in Pacific Palisades. They moved from Oakland here, and they're living down there. So
No,
good, having a good life. So
yeah,
very smart woman.
I'm sure
What's
that's
that?
a great story. That's a great
Very
story.
smart.
I'm sure they're
Very
living a great life.
great.
So then you transition a little bit into clinical research.
Right.
So who got
So
you involved in that? I'm very curious. I actually never asked you before.
So 10 years into my like 2000 and like I started in 1990. In the year 2000, I said, "Is this all there is? Is this all I'm ever going to do? Is pop zits and look at skin cancers and look around and say, man, this is like." I started getting bored. I just said, this is not that. I got to have another shtick here. I got to have something else I want to do. And I've told that to a lot of residents and people in training and stuff. I said, after 10 years, you better have something else that you want to do that you're passionate about.
Hmm.
So research looked interesting. It was fun. You became like an expert, and people would come to you. You write papers and things like that. So I was very much into that. So I started my first study with Kinetics, which was an old company out here in Palo Alto. They gave me my first acne study, and I was a sterling producer. I think they said bring 50 patients, and I got I think 60 or 70. Then companies started noticing that I was doing good work. I only had one or two coordinators. I went from one to two, and we were sort of stuck in this little back area of our practice. And we were initially part of the practice, and we separated out. And the School of Hard Knocks, I learned a lot of lessons on how to run a clinical research business. And probably the seminal person in my life that, other than she was seminal for a lot of things, including, she's the woman I love and the woman I married, but
Hmm.
she looked at me one day and looked at the clinical research practice and said, "You're kind of an idiot." I go, "Why?" She said, "Because," she said, "you have a potential gold mine here. You have a lot of patients, you're
Yeah.
good at what you do, and yet you're restricted to this little hole, cubby hole that you put these people in." So she took over. She moved us to a larger suite, 1,500 square feet. We had dedicated space. We had a place for monitors, the whole 9 yards. And she really buffed it up. Good infrastructure, internet, the whole 9 yards, and separated us from the main practice. We formed our own corporation, had our own set of employees. And then about 3, 4 years ago, she went from a 1,500 square foot space to a 2,500 square foot space. Now we have seven employees, a sub-I, and a recruiting IRB person full time, and 5 coordinators. So,
Wow.
and we do an average of probably 30 studies a year now, 20 to 30. I've done about 180 in my career now. Yeah, we're up to 180. So all
Yeah.
very
No,
good.
I looked with us in the last few years. It's over 30 trials with us alone.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. And I'm
yeah.
grateful. I'm grateful. And you notice I'm drinking from a Symbio 20th anniversary cup here. See that? Right there's the
That's
20th
beautiful.
anniversary
I said thank
Symbio.
you for that.
I have three of them.
I have a whole bunch of them in the corner here too.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
If you
they're
want more.
wonderful cold coffee cups. I love them.
So now I'm just curious. I mean, you do a lot of studies. What do you see the most of right now? And is it psoriasis? Is it atopic, rare disease? What's coming in the most right now for you?
Unfortunately, it's atopic dermatitis, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of patients.
Yeah.
With the current framework of what's happening, acne, I get a few through you predominantly, thank God.
Mhm.
And I love those studies because they're easy. Uh, Eczema is hard because the patients are getting harder to find. The drug companies have made it really easy for people to get expensive drugs for next to nothing. So why would you? So and so anyone that comes and says, I want to do an eczema product, I go, is it topical? They go, no, it's systemic. I go, man, you're gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
Maybe. So
Yeah.
I mean, we do it, but we're struggling constantly, and it's
Yeah.
amazing how like a lot of the companies and even some of the CROs, you say, well, like yesterday I was on a call with somebody. I said, well, send me the marketing kind of stuff. Send me the IRB approved ads so I can send them all the primary cares. And we have a list of probably 30, 40 primaries and docs in our network that we send emails to. And they said, we don't have it. I said, well, send me the doctor to doctor letter. We don't have it. I go, do you have your relationship? This is an eczema study. I said, do you have a relationship with the National Eczema Foundation? We don't have it. I go, well, then in the mind, I said, "You're set up for failure. You don't even have the infrastructure. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll certainly recruit, but we need help. So eczema we're seeing a lot of now. Everyone's doing prurigo nodularis,
Yeah.
chronic spontaneous urticaria, which there's not that many people. There just
Yeah.
isn't. I mean, there's just I can't produce them out of my rear end here. They're just not here. You got to advertise for them, and
No, I
advertised
know.
patients are not reliable. They're not reliable. So
Yeah. No, I think we see the
I,
same. We
what's
see a
that?
lot.
Sorry.
I mean, we see the same right now. So many RFPs are going to come in for atopic dermatitis, and then
Yeah.
we'll do a bid defense on it, and we'll show the competitive landscape, which is humongous. I mean, it's enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So psoriasis is coming back now. We have one, two, three psoriasis trials now. We have two in the pipeline, so we'll be busy with that. A little
mhm.
easier to get those people. There's not as many trials. Kind of, the cosmetic stuff is picking up. I'm just seeing more filler and toxin stuff coming. I haven't gotten a lot of it yet. A lot of small companies with little things that they want to do, like for example, I'm doing a study with. I just got off the phone with a guy. He should be using you, but he wants to run it himself. So have him help you. Um, Hyperpigmentation trial, which will I think do well. And when he needs more, I told him to talk to you. So just got off the phone with him. Um, Hyperpigmentation is an unmet need that we need more of. Cosmetic trials, I'm doing cosmetic products. I'm doing a skin tag study.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
have you heard of it?
I haven't
Do you
heard.
know
No,
that?
I haven't heard of it, but I
Yeah,
think it's a
that's
great
that. I'm
indication.
doing these one-off things. What else am I doing?
Is it a topical product for skin
No,
tags?
it's a commercially available product in England that you can get on Amazon. They just want to show that it works. The FDA has been working
I
on it.
see.
It's basically you stick this rubber band on the skin, and after a week, the tag falls off. Apparently,
Gotcha.
so
Just cut the blood
that's
supply.
yeah, it's a simple study. What else are we doing?
So, what do you like to do though? What if if you could only do one type of study, what would you like to do? I know it's a stupid
If I had to,
question, but
it'd be a portfolio actually. I'd like to do, any one time I'd like to do an acne study. I'd
yeah,
like to do a filler study. I'd like to do a psoriasis study, maybe a topical AD and less likely a systemic AD, and maybe a couple of weird conditions thrown in there. And that's five, 7 to 9 studies at a time of different things. But that's the mix. Medical derm predominantly, a couple of cosmetics, and maybe a topical cosmetic product. So like 70% medical, 30% cosmetic. So
yeah,
7 medical studies, 3 cosmetic studies, and
yeah.
then
I mean,
we have
we're
some
we're
device.
seeing now we're
What's
seeing
that?
tons of EU and APAC companies that want to come to the U.S.
Yeah.
Obviously, uh, for their dermal fillers and toxin studies. I mean, this is the
Yep.
market here in the U.S. They all want to be here, but they
Yep.
I found we're finding that they don't know the regulations well enough, and it's just
Yep.
causing. We can sign a contract. It's a year and a half later. We haven't started it yet because they really didn't know the regulations
Yep.
with the FDA to get started. So I think you're going to see a lot more of these trials coming up. Definitely for you. I think you're
We
great at
we
it.
yeah, yeah. We have done 7 or 8 filler trials and
Hmm.
4 toxin trials in the recent past. I was the first guy ever to inject the Revance toxin into a human being, and the human being survived, shockingly.
Wow.
Um, that was like, yeah. So the Revance CEO is now become a good friend. Ex CEO has become a good friend of ours. His wife and my wife shop together, which is unfortunate for me. And so they, so he told me, he said, "Do you know, Sunil, you are the first human being to inject this." I go, "Really?" And I said, "The patient's
Wow.
arrived." And I said, "Wow." So, I remember they made me. What did they make me do? They To figure out what dose was correct. You took a human being and put a grid on their back, injected like 25 different points on their back, stuck them in a sauna, just like looked like a sleeping bag, and then measured the sweat. It was this weird
Wow.
thing. And I would walk in, inject, 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 and I'd walk out, and my staff would put them in a sauna, and then they'd sweat for a while, and then we see where the sweat was the most or the least or whatever. Now, this was almost like 8 or 9 years ago. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about toxin evolution, longer, shorter, better delivery systems. People you and I both know are working on delivery systems that are very unique for sweat.
Yeah.
Sweat would be a
Absolutely.
big one. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what? How much time do you spend on clinical research versus your normal practice?
40% clinical research because I have that a really good sub eye, and so she does a lot of the like more mundane studies, and I do some of the more complex. But she does a lot of the stuff, and she's very good at it. And
Mhm.
yeah, 40% because we have to divide the work, and she does. And she probably is now doing the bulk. 60% of the studies visits are done with her because she's more available. I mean, the staff
Yeah.
doesn't want to deal with me. They go, "Oh, you're like too busy. Why don't we just deal with her?" And
Yeah.
they love her, so and she's good at it, and she loves it. So,
That's great.
but I'm
You know,
sure
I
there's a finger.
do you know how they call James Brown the hardest working man in show business? He had that title. I give that to you in clinical research because you know
Why?
everybody. You, I don't think I've ever introduced. I said, "Oh, I have this study." You already know the people. I don't know how you do it, but you just know everybody.
Well, so people ask me, how do you get a business like this going? So a lot of young docs ask me this question. I said, we want to do this. I said it's a full-on, strong commitment that you have to make to get good employees, have good quality, and spend evenings looking at RFPs and I
Yeah.
have a partner who's really good at, my wife is very good at looking at this stuff. And
Right.
she interacts with your wife not infrequently.
Right.
And you know that. You know that if you don't have a good partner like that, it just doesn't work. And that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why larger kind of entities haven't really come in yet, though they are trying to come in, like larger groups to consolidate practices and things. So they just haven't been able to do it because they don't have people like my wife running around and your wife. Your
Yeah.
wife is really good at it. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, no, just
I
I
I
mean, I
was
don't
going to
think
say too, your site is fantastic at also getting diversity patients. I think people should know that
yeah,
too, because it's
yeah,
it's
we have
it's
a
coming up
lot.
now all the time.
Yeah, we have a ton. I mean, 70-80% of what I see is brown people.
Right.
70% we looked last. Yeah, it's a lot. Well, I mean, the area, I mean, I'm in Silicon Valley. It's like a lot
Yeah.
of brown engineers, brown people that just happen to be here. And they are somewhat, it's interesting. They're more resistant to getting into trials, but once they do it, a lot of them love it. Like, especially vitiligo trials, because it's very common in the Indian
Yeah.
population. Once they say, "Oh, yeah, God, this is so easy," I go, "Yeah, should have done it like a year ago." But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, people fear it, but I want them to be comfortable, and we never force anybody to do anything. So we
Yeah.
say,
And I think it's also like like we talk about filler studies and toxin studies. It's we need the high Fitzpatrick's on those studies too.
yep,
So they're obviously a go-to for those, which is great.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're big on diverse, and that's a lot of times what the FDA is mandating
Yeah.
diversity. They're looking at, like, for example, the phase 4 trials that and patient experience trials that they want you to do. A year or two after something comes out, that's become really hot. I didn't realize what um,
Yeah.
demand there was for that, and now the companies are realizing we don't have any infrastructure built up for that. So some of the companies I've talked to, the phase 3 group doesn't talk to the phase 4 group. The phase group 4 group doesn't have even a database of good sites. So it's an opportune time for CRO like you guys to say, we have the database, we know who these people are, we know how to work with them. I
Mhm.
mean, and that's why I keep saying, go talk to Rich, go talk to Rich. Let him deal with your headaches, but they're slow sometimes the uptake. But I think that's a really good market to get into now because
Yeah,
phase
I agree with
4,
that.
yeah, it's big and it's going to get bigger because they're all, especially the toxin guys and some of the more cosmetic guys, they're going to have to do segmented studies in certain ethnic groups, certain age groups, and
Mhm.
subtypes. So
So let me ask you another question. I asked this
go ahead.
on another podcast. Was we work with our wives? How do you separate work from home when you go home? Do you find it difficult? Because it's not always
No,
easy.
I mean, no. So uh, she's always on that computer, and she's always you know telling me that I'm lazy and I'm slow. So
Yeah,
that's
lazy. My
basically what
God.
that's basically what she said. She goes, "You didn't get that done. How come you didn't call that sponsor? You're supposed to have done that yesterday." I go, "Oh shit, man. Pardon. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
said that. Sorry." No. So she said, she just told me right now. She goes, "Get the sponsor on the phone. You got to talk to them right now about something." So that's what I did. I've got to listen. No,
Yeah.
we're good. I mean, what we do is we take a lot of vacations, just like hopefully you guys have just done, and we'll do more
Right.
of. So once we get away, the computers are on, and I'm usually working in the mornings for an hour or so, catching up on emails.
Yeah.
But we spend the whole day traveling. We do a lot of travel, and
What's your favorite
we
place?
travel. Oh, what's that?
What's your favorite
I
place to
didn't hear.
visit?
You know, I really can't. I'll tell you. Recently, we went to Japan last year.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Okay.
have you been there?
No, my niece just went. Loved it.
You know, we use Viator a lot. So what we do is we land there, we plan the trip. We have a really good set of somewhat well-off friends, and we travel with them. And we get together. In fact, I have a meeting with them in half an hour that I had to cancel because I don't have the energy right now. But we do Zoom meetings pretty much like once a week, arranging like flights and hotels, and then we go on Viator and get all our tour company stuff done. So they pick us up, arrange everything, and we've done so much of this now that several people have said, why don't you start a blog about all your connections all over the world? Like, I have tour people in Japan, I have in South Africa, because these are all places I've been, and I have their personal numbers now. I can just call them and say, I have Rich is coming, take care of Rich, and
Hmm.
they'll remember us because we go and we have fun. So what Japan was good, South Africa was amazing. We were just in Italy and Como and Cinque Terre, that was great.
Yeah.
Um, God, these are all great places. Portugal was amazingly fun and really cheap. I was shocked at how inexpensive it was to be there. Even Italy's not that expensive right now.
Yeah. It's not
Japan
too
was
bad.
Japan wasn't expensive. Nepal I've been to.
Jeez.
Oh, great place if you like snorkeling. Go to Sri Lanka and Maldive Islands. Amazing snorkeling. Yeah. So these are all some of the places, and we have Ireland and Amsterdam in about a month. So we're going there. It'll be
Okay.
fun.
Yeah. You should. They have the EADV in Amsterdam this year in September.
I avoid those meetings like the plague
Yeah, it's a lot of work
because
for
I have to
you.
work. I don't
You
want to
got to work.
work.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I don't want to work. I want to be
Well,
like having
so yeah,
fun.
so you're talking about not working, but we're going to go into appeal, right? That's how I say it. I always say appeal. I'm trying to say
Yeah,
it. I can't get it out
too
of my
much
mouth.
work.
So yeah, you're talking about vacations, and all I see you is taking on more and more stuff. So can you talk
Yeah,
about? I know this is
yeah.
a great idea. I think appeal is a great idea. So I'll let you introduce it a little bit.
So about 3 years ago, around my kitchen table, we had a pitch from a company about an AI-based platform that would rate um, eczema, and they're just doing a study now to show that it actually works. We're actually the site for them. So it took them 3 years to get their act together. So what we did was we kind of looked at this and said, we can probably do this for wrinkles. So we created the platform for wrinkles, published a study that when you take a picture of this wrinkle or the forehead or the periorbital or the nasolabial folds of the cheeks, we'll be able to rate using artificial intelligence. And the system has learned how to rate these areas. Well, somebody looked at the platform about a year and a half ago and said, well, we don't like the AI portion of it because we're scared of AI, but we'd like you to run the trial remotely on the platform, just, source documents,
Hmm.
randomization, blah, blah, blah. And we'd like to be able to take photos and videos of patients. This was an injectable acne product. So we did that. And what they discovered was that the patients were injecting incorrectly. So once they corrected it, the results came out better. So that was really profound to them and to us. Then what happened was my coordinators got a hold of it, then a bunch of other sponsors got a hold of it, and they started noticing, well, you can do this and that and other things. And when somebody would ask me and say, can you add this? I would say, yes, of course, not knowing if we could or not. I would just say yes to everybody. And that's what I
Absolutely.
would do. And then Brahm would say, well, yes, we can, and he would confirm it. So it sort of has evolved to being now a full kind of range platform with source documentation, adverse event reporting, photography, reminders,
Yeah.
randomization. So everything's on there and added features every kind of day or every week. And done 5 trials, coming up with a sixth one, running a phase 1 trial right now on it.
Hmm.
And fixing little glitches that happen with every software program, and pretty quickly doing it very horizontally structured. We only have like 3 or 4 people in the company and a lot of
Right.
contractors that work with us. So It's
Yeah.
pretty, uh, you know, small team, but effective.
Yeah. I've always said that, we work with a lot of biotech companies and they're running studies, and your app makes a great time lapse feature, right? So a lot of the biotechs, they're working on early, phase one, phase two trials.
Yep.
And I don't think, and everybody's always looking for funding. And I just think that feature that you like, have them take so many photographs, do a time lapse. I think it's perfect for them. I think everybody should be doing it, honestly. I think if you want to get funding and show how efficacious your product is, I think
Yep.
pictures do the job.
Yep. Well, we have a set of photos from this acne study that we present to everybody when we do a pitch. And it's the same
Yeah.
guy. He's the only, he's one of my patients. And I said, can we use this? Yeah. And he signed off on it, signed the document. So it shows him. Actually, he took photos in the office with it's an iPhone. You can use it on an iPhone or iPad. And he took
Right.
pictures at home, and his pictures at home were as good as his pictures in the office. And they were
Right.
good enough for me to rate his acne. So I could do it. The engine, when it gets enough photos, will start learning how to rate acne, but currently does wrinkles and it's learning eczema as well. So that's
Yeah.
the AI portion of it. So
Yeah, no, and again, if anybody's interested, just please write something in the comments and we'll get back to you on it.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
also with the whole thing about you not being busy and lazy and on vacation, let's talk about Finet, because
Yeah.
that's
So that
that's
was
something very new.
yes. So our main practice, we looked at ourselves about 2 years ago and said, "What are we going to do?" I'm turning 65 this year. I did already, and I said,
Oh
I
wow.
had a 2 year plan, and I said we need to make some, look for succession planning, and we had built up a nice practice over six. It's been since 1965, so whatever, 60 years. And my founder, decided to retire about 3 years ago with COVID, and he got out. So it was just me and my partner and 4 to 5 PAs, and one other doc was a contractor. And we said we need to, assure the future for this practice and the employees, which we have 40 something employees, and want to make sure that they survive and thrive. So
Yeah.
we aligned ourselves, looked at some private equity funded startups, and uh, Finet was the most cooperative and actually the nicest group of people. And whenever I need to get anything done, even today, I can get a hold of them. Now, are they swift on the uptick for everything? No, because they have to go through committees and things. But they've been, whatever they've said they're going to do, they did it. Um, and their only requirement is, and it's very interesting, they said, make sure you take care of the patients, make sure you take care of the employees. We don't want our name on the door. We
Hmm.
may own you, but we don't want anybody to, unless they ask, to know. It's just not their right to know. But if they ask
Right.
you, you can say, yeah, I'm a part of Flyknit. But all the practices that they own are branded locally, which is very smart because they do the back end stuff, the employees and all that other stuff, but the front end is me and my partners and my partner and my the other employees who are the providers, right? That's who you come see.
Right.
That's the key. So they may start some branding of the practices together, but they don't even write anything on the practice at all. They don't say we're not a division, which we are a division of Finet, but they don't let any. There's not common knowledge. So and the
Right.
patients do know mostly. So
So are you
yeah,
looking to get them a lot of those sites involved in clinical research too?
yeah. So that's what. So the next big project for us with Appeal and with you and everybody is to get some of these non-clinical research sites to start doing the phase 4 patient experience trials for some of these
Right.
companies. Again, this is happening very rapidly. I just got off the phone yesterday with somebody, and actually this afternoon, and I already got 3 emails in my inbox saying, "When can we have the demo? When can we have the demo?" Because they're looking to work on a big eczema product that's coming out. So I said, "Well, we'll be happy to show you, and then obviously introduce you to Rich, and then Rich can deal with you guys and get you moving." Um, but they're a large company, so I don't know how quickly they'll move. So yeah, that is a key for them. Where photography can be done at home, they can observe different skin types, how fast the response is. Does the arm work faster than the leg, or what
Yeah.
happens? That's where the platform and finance, ability to do this with 100 to 120 sites producing, 30, I think they see 30,000 patients a day, or yeah, it's some large, humongous number of people. I have the statistics. It's huge. I mean, they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of visits a month. So they have a
Is it all
lot of
derm?
people.
Is it
It's
all
all derm.
dermatology?
Yeah, it's all derm.
Oh, wow. I didn't
They're gonna.
realize.
What's that?
I didn't realize it was all derm.
Oh, it's all derm. It's all
Oh,
derm. Plastic surgery is so slowly, I think, coming in. They're looking at some med spas to acquire, but they're in an acquisition binge. So they're going to be. They've got us. They're looking at some practice in South Bay, and most private guys are pretty much hanging it up at this point. I mean, it's just very difficult to manage and run and expand a practice beyond what you have now, and you have to have an exit plan. I mean, you guys were smart. You have aligned yourself with a large organization. You have now expanded out in
yeah,
Europe. I mean, it's big. It's big. It's the way of the future. So
yeah.
we have to follow and get more efficient.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
So anything,
Uh,
do you have anything else that you're about to try, or is this it? Are we settling down a little bit, or do you have another
yeah.
idea to go after?
Yeah. No. I think that once appeal gets to a phase where I don't have to like work at it that hard, I'm probably gonna just advise. I mean, I've got a couple of advising deals that people want me to advise them. I just can't do it yet, so I told them wait,
Yeah,
um, and just sort of sit on boards and hang around and make big statements and walk away and kind of turn
but
into the
you're not on boards.
huh?
You're not on any
What do
boards
you mean?
now. You seem to be. You know everything. So I'm wondering. You got to be on some advisory boards, or
I am on advisory boards, but very kind of limited. I think no, I mean some of the companies that retain me, we don't meet very often.
hmm,
I've got small startup advisories that I'm doing, where I work with them on product development. But not like the big guys right now. The big guys are not doing a lot of advisory boards. They retain academics, but guys like me, they have a meeting once a year. That's pretty much it.
hmm.
Or the study meetings.
Okay. So I mean, that's something to look forward to. Just do some advisory boards.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, take
I
it.
want to also mentor younger people, whoever wants to start clinical research, and say, look, and it's almost like you need a clinical research university. Like, here's a
Absolutely,
one
absolutely.
weekend intensive course, which is
Yeah.
something, that I hate to say it, would be happy to do in a year or two with you if we
Yeah.
if we have the time.
Well,
But
but
yeah,
you're right.
we'll see.
It's one of those things. Is we're always looking. We want to expand. We want to have more derm sites, but
Yep.
sponsors don't want derm sites that are naive sites, right? They want experience. So it's always a bit
Yep.
of a catch-22 there. But if they had, like you said, clinical research university, I think that would be fantastic. I mean,
Yeah,
I think over the years we've helped a lot of sites get started ourselves.
yep, you have. I mean, a lot of these people, started with you and the side studies that you've done. I mean, it's been like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's learning on the job, right? There's
yeah,
no central training. There is haphazard training, but nothing
yeah.
really
Not
well.
not comprehensive.
No, not
And just the
comprehensive.
whole business aspect to running a clinical site has got to be enormous
Yep,
too.
yep. I
You know?
mean, stuff like, we have data now generated because we've done so many studies. Like, if this is an eczema trial, per visit, we know what we should be getting,
Yeah,
right? In order to be able to run a business, maintain the business, give benefits to people, and all this stuff. It's just like I mean, there are certain things below which you can't run a business, right? You just can't
yeah,
do it. So we know, and that's why I'm happy when you send me these requests, and I can give you kind of a budget. So you guys kind of average it out between me and the five other people that
yeah,
respond to it, which is what you need.
yeah,
Because sponsors don't have they're not clear about it. They're either too high or too low. That's their problem.
yeah, yeah. It's always a
Especially the
tough one.
naive ones. Especially the
Yeah,
naive ones.
that's a great idea. I
Yeah.
like that idea.
No, no. So we have a database. So we can pull out and we say, well, this is an eczema trial, oral, systemic. Per visit, we know on average for the last 5 years what we've been reimbursed. So we bring everybody kind of to that average. We say, well,
Right.
this is yeah. And if it's a systemic psoriasis trial, she has a database. She just pulls it out and says, that's what we have to do. Like EKG is this price. It's all there. It's all there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure at this point, she has it down pat.
Yeah, she doesn't have to even look at the thing. She just knows that. That's she knows. And we never want a trial to run away from us based on price. So if a sponsor can't do it, we'll say, okay, what can we do to work with you guys?
Yeah. No,
We
you're
don't want
really
to.
good that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and CRO, especially guys like you. I mean, we definitely don't want to mess with you guys and say anything. It was, oh, we have to do it, because my wife likes you guys, and if my wife likes you guys, I like you guys.
Yeah.
And I like you
We're
guys. I
having
like
this.
you
Yeah,
a lot. So
exactly.
what's that?
We love you.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think we're having the same discussion about both of us taking a little haircut to get something done that seems really interesting to us. So
exactly
something
because
different.
yeah, no, we're willing to take a cut because we know that if we do it now and they're successful, they'll hopefully remember us and say, "Oh, you did
Right.
this for me. You know,
Right.
you connected me here. You got me a study done. You got me help me get funded. We work. We want to work with these guys. They're the future for us, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so
So
I could go
go
on for
ahead.
hours with you, but I think we need to. You got to get to sleep.
No, I have to eat
You
my
have to eat
bowl
dinner
of
first.
chicken soup
Oh yeah.
and drink my Symbio coffee.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Oh,
Delicious.
it is
Yeah.
delicious.
So thanks
So,
so
how are
much.
you doing? How was Italy, by the way? I'm so
Oh,
curious.
Italy. Yeah, we just got back from Italy. You know what? We went to South Italy. It was amazing. It was amazing. Um, Actually thinking about looking for like a little retirement place down there as well. So we took a look at some homes down there. It's just, you know, I'm ready to do it. We got to talk the other half into maybe to doing it as well. I think it's just, and I'm learning to speak it. So I had a blast.
How old are you, Rich?
I am going to be 59 in September.
My wife's just turned 59 yesterday. Yesterday, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, from a philosophical standpoint, you're doing all the right stuff. This is exactly the time that you need to kind of look at the future and say, I need to get this, what you're doing, which is a great organization. You have amazingly good people. You know, your wife, your son, and Chad, and the whole gang.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you when our coordinators work with you guys, and this is you haven't paid me anything to say this. I'm going to say it up front and outright. They love your people.
Staff. Yeah, I
They
appreciate that.
staff is amazing.
Yeah.
Very fun to work with, from everybody. I mean, everybody we interact with, Marianne Johnson, everybody,
Yeah.
and that says a lot. So if they have a choice between working on a Symbio study and somebody else's study, they go, can we work on that one, please? Because the interaction is very positive.
Yeah,
And
I really appreciate that. I feel the same way. Our staff is fantastic. We've been together. So many of us have been
yep,
together for so long. It's like a family here for so long. Um,
yep,
and now, same with like bringing in our European partners now. And merging the two groups. Uh, it's very much the same. So I'm enjoying it, and it's going well. And I'm glad that you get that family feeling from our staff too, because
oh
that's
yeah.
important. It's always been like that. So I'm glad.
My question is, does Chad ever sleep? Probably not.
No, poor Chad. It's like we do a lot for me, right? We do a lot with Europe in the morning,
Yeah,
but he's on your time zone, so
yeah, I know.
he's got a 9 hour difference, and it's an 8 hour day, so the poor guy can't. He's working all
He
the
needs
time.
rest.
Like, we're all working all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to. This is especially with you combining. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of weight on your shoulders to make sure that the business keeps going, that quality's high, which it always has been, and maintaining it and giving that
Yeah,
culture to the German group as well. It has to be all in one level platform,
yeah,
and the sponsors are looking for people like you guys.
yeah,
They're asking, do you have a European presence? Well, you have a whole division in Europe,
yeah,
right? That
exactly.
not very few people have that. That's not
Yeah,
well
and,
known.
I'm glad they're farmers looking at the smaller groups, the mid size to smaller groups again. I think that's going to help, and they're going to get more service too. So that's a
Absolutely.
plus. Yeah, I think we're
That's
seeing
that's what I
a
said to
lot
everybody.
of that.
I said it's very horizontal. There's Chad, There's Rich and there's Rich's wife. That's who you deal with, basically.
Yeah,
Just go
yeah,
right up to
exactly.
there. You go. That's who you deal with. Go call them. So
Right.
that's why you want to use them. I
Yeah.
have a quick question. Does everyone still use which IRB does everybody use? Is it Advera or Western or what is the one
Yeah,
everybody uses?
I think Avera is the choice here.
Yeah, okay. What
Yeah,
about for small companies that don't have a lot of money? Is Advera still the one?
Avera is still the one.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to. I'm just
that's the choice right now. And it's been a choice for a while. So yeah,
yeah. I'll have to let. There's somebody who was asking me today, and I didn't know what to tell him. So I said, well, let me ask Rich. He would know.
yeah, well, yeah. If they can talk to our regulatory person too, if they want. I mean, I'd be happy to
Good.
if they want to speak to. Them, that's fine.
Um,
But
any other questions?
no, I listen. I appreciate your time, and this is always
Anytime.
fun. Like we could do this for a couple more hours, and
Yeah,
maybe
of
we'll
course
do.
we could.
I
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate the time, and I have about four other things I've got to call you about tomorrow when I've had my Indian food and Symbio coffee.
Okay, good things to talk about. All right, sounds good.